Hi, YouTube. I hope you're doing okay. There was a little bit of a delay when I started here. Um, a lot of times I'll put my camera on and then it'll beep at me or whatever it does, a little warning thing, and goes, something went wrong, and then I have to start over. But it didn't. It just kind of bleeped at me and then came on. Well, anyway, it was a little distracting. I'll be okay. I didn't expect that. Have you heard of a search engine from Russia that is about a third of the Russians use it? From my understanding, I mean, you can download it. They don't watch you like Google does. So it's called Yandex. Yandex. Totally protected and more. I don't know. Doug just wrote it, and that's it. So Yandex. Well, I don't know if it's going to come out backwards on there, but it looked like it to me. So I don't know. I've been thinking today about, especially like the Summer of Love was 1969. And, like free love, rock and roll, and drugs, and all their weird stuff that was going on. Then I was thinking about, like, in the early 70s, I had gone to my favorite lake around Minneapolis. There's a chain of lakes in the city. Was called Cedar Lake. It was very deep and very clear compared. It was colder than the other lakes because of the depth of it. But so there was less people at the beach, but it was a lot cooler in the middle of summer when everybody else was around, the little babies peeing in the water at the public beach. I could go for a swim on this one point. People called it Bare Ass Beach, which is illegal in my state. Most of my country, it's illegal to walk around nude. There's some really immorally regressed areas. But so I'd go around this cove, and there was this tiny little spot I found that was just perfect for like swimming and picnicking and whatever. So, but yeah, I went with some friends one time to the Bare Ass Beach part, and it was getting dark about then, and people were whipping off their clothes and stuff, and I stayed in my undergarments and, hung around with the girls. But I was wondering, how would you handle, could you emotionally survive without sexual urges being at a nude beach? And to me, if children are around that's child abuse. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Buts, yeah. They don't need to be seeing that. They have enough troubles trying to remain morally stable in this insane world. And that brings to mind, how many of you, if you have taken your child or been to a therapist or even worked as a therapist, have you ever wondered the person you're taking your child to, if they've ever been diagnosed with a mental illness? And if so, what would that be? Is that somebody that you would want teaching your child? If somebody lacks control, with their impulses and urges, would you want them teaching your child? Well, as far as I'm concerned, the European operating mode of helping the mentally unstable, the insane in our societies isn't doing any good for anybody. How can you teach about something you don't know? For instance, if you, well, okay, wait, I have to make it a good analogy. Just a bit here. Like, for instance, if you personally have never been the wife of a narcissist, you wouldn't be able to speak from that female's point of view. You could go on hearsay and theories from other people, but it's just like a man that's married to a narcissist woman. I could speak on his behalf from what he told me, which would be hearsay and theory and even studies of people that are like-minded that get together and come to conclusions in certain areas of dealing with people's minds, but it doesn't make it definitive. With the loose ways in our society that harms people in lots of different ways, who can you trust your children with? You know? And who are they? Really? I had a couple of mental health care professionals pretend to take care of my children, and they ended up losing their jobs for it, for the proof that I presented of the mentally insane ways that they were inflicting on my child. So, I take this super serious, super serious. Okay, here's another scenario. If you lack human compassion, how could you care for another person's soul? Or don't you believe that people have souls? You know? Yeah, I'm questioning people. Sure am. I'm looking for mental health care professionals in my country of the United States of America to stand up like Peru did and say, we love our people. They're displaying unstable tendencies, and is this shit catchy? And we need to combine together and make a stand for the morality of the youngsters that are coming up after us in this. And what are the people that go into the mental health care field, what are they going to be displaying and teaching, say, like 10 years from now? Like what they're doing in California? Like you're going to affirm a 5-year-old if it's a boy that wants to become a girl, and you're going to say, well, you're going to go along with that? Or penalize the parents when they say no? When the mom says, no, I gave birth to a son. And I personally think that it's a good idea that they wait till in their 30s till their brain is in full capacity as an adult, which is what? After the age 21 for girls, 24 for boys, or whatever they say. Whatever they say doesn't really make that so either, and it's all individual. but the actual growth of the physical brain and its capabilities of when you're 30 years old compared to when you're 5, that's a big jump in thoughts and actions and even self-control when we get older, or it should be. A lot of people have like a nonchalant attitude towards the whole thing, like as long as they're preaching out of their books that they've gathered information out of and they're going along with the status quo, that everything's okay in accordance to the other people that are of that like mind, you know. But there's some of us that don't agree with the way other countries are taking their citizens and the care that they say they have for them. I see as really lacking in responsibility. You're remiss. I feel as though they're remiss in concern for human beings, you know. It's like me getting down on the heads of state in Israel. Hey, it's the book of what God wrote that these people say they are abiding in, that don't obey their own laws from God and have turned away from what He told them to do. There's nothing after that until they come back to what God has for them, the blessings He has for them. You can't, you don't get paid for a job you don't do. And that goes for anything, with anything in life, you know? Are they being wicked? Yeah. Is it intentional? Not with all of them, no. The heads of state? Hell yeah. They are. They show who they serve. No matter what their words say, their actions speak different. If you or I had an altercation, we have several different ways we can approach this situation. Even if you came in my yard, and I've had this happen, if you came on my property and shot one of my animals, I have different ways of dealing with that besides physical retaliation. It's just the way it is. You have choices. People have choices on their reactions. And that's how I feel. Well, it's in their scriptures, but that's how I feel. God is telling people to turn away from your wicked ways and control your impulses for the betterment of everybody. It isn't just one people. There's no people on this planet that have a license to kill. Say what you will after that. Nobody's chosen to be the vengeance that God will take. Not you, not me, not anybody. That's exclusive for God. Whatever you call the name of the nameless one that couldn't name himself, that's who I'm talking about. Not any entity that came after that. That's who I serve. Almighty, the one and only. I still say people don't understand how I could bake a loaf of bread and not be that loaf of bread. But people say, well, this is who God is. and describe them in the physical with physical means. It's impossible. When you have somebody that can think ahead for you and create you, you can't think on that level. You can presume, and it's a wise thing to go after what those thoughts would be. I think logic and reason in our physical is a good rule of thumb. You know, what really is logical? Is it logical for me? If I were worried about my child getting like AIDS or being involved in like premarital relationships that could harm his marriage for the future, I'm saying him because I have 2 sons, but or my granddaughters, would it be wise for me to take my children to a nude beach knowing that the connection with immorality and that nudity and people's, especially the young, their lack of ability to control themselves? Would it be wise of me as a parent or a mental health care professional? Would it be wise of me to be ignorant of the harms of different things within our society that does harm people? It's proven things harm people. Yeah. Well, no, it wouldn't be too smart. If you were the type of parent that wanted to teach your children how to work the land or to fish or to get good grades in math, whatever it is, would it be wise of me to put their minds in a state of adulthood, adulting my child before he's I was going to say it's like talking about it's feasible or like, but where until he's mentally prepared to handle a situation like that? It wouldn't be too smart, but people say things just right off the top of their head, or they'll quote somebody else from a book, and they're like gatekeepers of the truth, of keeping morality away from people because of their own immorality. I could gather hundreds and thousands of people right now that would agree that nudity could be a thing all the way around the world, and nobody would have a problem with that. But that would be their opinion, you know? And I think, well, what about these societies like places in Africa or South America, or where people in societies wore less clothes because of the climate and their ability to maybe even need those? But you don't see them like having an orgy and fornicating like right in front of everybody or anything like that. There's a, how could you lower your gaze in a society of nudity? Is there something instilled in those people, a code of ethics, a mode of being that other societies don't have? You don't see little people in those type of places laughing at the nudity, but you will, like little kids in other societies will see something like that. First they'll be a little shocked, and then they'll kind of like probably not be able to control their thoughts because Satan will get in there and work on them with all that, and that they do. But yeah, just talking things out here. with you and to myself, you know, or to you and with myself. Yeah. It's kind of like grammar and speaking and writing and stuff, and how I would say, like Doug and I, you're putting the other person first. It's like my friend and I, not me and my friend, because then you're literally putting yourself first, and grammatically you're in error. Um, um, Ethically you're in error. Morally and spiritually, if you put yourself in speech before another person, you're error. I don't mean errant, like totally not a part of the system type of errant, but an error of ways that don't benefit other people, you know? Just a little side note, I have bread raising in the oven, so I'm not erring in my ways today. Well, I bet that loaf of bread thinks it's God. It's a part of God. Everything is. Is it? If I gave you my fingernail and it never grew back, but you now have my fingernail, well, that fingernail isn't a part of you, but it's still part of me, but I gave it away. I hope that made sense. I'll find another analogy for that. Like I say, with the baker not being the bread, the painter not being the painting, being able to paint a painting, but not being that painting, you know? It's like God made woman. They describe God as He. He made male, then female. So the story goes. Um, does that mean that he's part female because he was able to make a female? It's like man was created in his image. It says Eve was taken out of his rib. Well, the true translation is taken from his side. If you were sitting beside me and the cops came and got you, you would be taken from my side, not out of me, but from me. And that's the true language of the whole thing, and why people, and how it's been twisted to put people more in the physical, that you're believing like these things are literal, like they're going to use Project Blue Beam to show you Christ coming on the clouds, when he's in the clouds right now, talking to all of us through the ether or from within to our souls constantly, or with your third eye or whatever, which is pretty satanic with all that. Doesn't mean it isn't true. I'm just saying there's different modes of communication that are more effective if you want to talk to the right person, you know. One comes from the heart and the soul. That's that quiet voice. The other one's really loud and it'll get in there. It's the only one that will give you bad thoughts that we can choose to run with or not. We can either stop ourselves after that bad thought or keep going with it. And even the very wicked, God's speaking to them, whether they ignore it or not. I wouldn't be able to deal with people at a nude beach. I would be like, that's disgusting. I guess one of my little sisters stopped my birth mother from, covered her up with a towel. One time down in Austin, there's this beach by this lake called Lake Travis that all the hippies used to hang around at, like Willie Nelson and all the rest of them freakazoids, you know. Because if you're hanging around that type of place, you're a freakazoid, you know. But one of my little sisters, or two of them, had more brains than the adult to cover their mother's shame. And it is the shame of people's lack of morality that they're going to be living with when it really hits home. And it will eventually. I'm just trying to intervene. Nobody wants to feel shameful. I mean, I'll tell somebody they're acting shameful, but I'm sure nobody wants to feel that way. And most likely the times that I've told people they were being shameful, or shame on you, they thought it was humorous anyway. Well, you can go ahead and laugh. It's really not that funny. If you've had people you love deeply affected by the people that are in defense of this immorality movement, you're shameful. And if you've never been a mother or a parent or even someone that cares about another human being's spirituality and connection to our Creator, and you're teaching them with what? What are you teaching them? You're not teaching the whole being. Spirit is a lot, if not most, if not everything, of what we are here and what will always be. So teaching somebody to live in the flesh and not address their spiritual being within themselves, people do a disservice to others with that. And I don't know any mental health professionals that would really stand up in strength and in force and say, no, I'm not going to go along with this. Well, there are a few, but not enough that just say, I am not going to do this. If you want to bring your child or your spouse or parent or whoever, a friend, if you want to like book a session of me caring for your mental health, I'm just saying hypothetically, I wouldn't charge anybody for that. Some people, that's their I'm a minister, not a paid employee or freelance giver of knowledge to anybody. I don't expect any payment. I'll have a good life no matter what. So I'm not putting people down if they specifically went into that field because they have a concern of other human beings. I'm not putting people down at all like that. But you would have to display a deep concern for other humans before I really took anything you said as viable. Mm-hmm. I was going to say something else with that too, but yeah, I think it's pretty sad that who could you trust? basically. Like, could you take your loved one or recommend your loved one to somebody that doesn't deal with the whole scenario, that would be too afraid to stand up against the establishment, like what's deemed rational in your area of the world, Like, would you be able to stand up against that type of machine, and would you be in fear of not having an income if you did stand up for morality? So I need to hear more people say, no, men have and never will be, and chromosomes do matter. Women are women, men are men, and hopefully you'll consider the children that hear your words and their children after that, and the effect that you're going to have with everything that you do say and those who hear it. I don't want anybody to be living in shame. And the ones that are wicked, they actually don't think they're going to have to face the consequences of hurting other people and not recognizing that. So that's my message for today. I want to see more people concerned with others' spiritual guidance. You can say anything you want out here with your words, but what is your soul doing, really? Are you crazy? Do you adopt insanity as just something people do, and some things are a pass, and some things aren't? And what? We're leaving it up to other human beings to determine what's right or wrong for the next generations? That's a scary damn thought right there. Okay, I'm going to get this uploaded. I appreciate you joining me. Have a really beautiful night or day wherever you're at. Peace and love from Pine City, Minnesota, USA.